Imagine sitting in the exact same living room, staring at the exact same television set, watching your national football team for, gosh, nearly 40 years.
Wow, that is a lot of heartbreak.
Oh, totally. You've endured the agonizing lows, the false starts, the heartbreak you just mentioned. And then finally, you witness a true golden era.
Right. The payoff.
Exactly. But here is the catch for you listening. You don't credit the superstar players on the pitch. You credit a bureaucrat behind a desk.
Which is just so against how sports fandom normally works.
It really is. So welcome to today's deep dive. We are thrilled to have you with us. Today, we're unpacking a highly unique piece of source material.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
It's this raw, passionately recorded video monologue from a 47-year-old Moroccan marathon runner. He's a diehard football fan, and he's looking ahead to the 2026 World Cup in the USA, Canada, and Mexico.
And that level of detached analysis from a lifelong fan is incredibly rare. Our mission today is to, well, look completely past the surface of everyday football fandom.
Right. We want to go deeper.
Exactly. We want to extract this speaker's deeper insights into organizational leadership, the hidden dangers of blind loyalty, and how sports essentially act as a mirror reflecting a country's economic and social development.
Yeah, and what makes this source so compelling is the historical baseline. Like, he mentions watching every tournament from that exact same house since the 1986 World Cup in Mexico.
That is a massive chunk of time. That multi-decade perspective gives his analysis of today's Moroccan team a deeply grounded, really pragmatic edge.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to understand this golden era he's talking about, we first have to look at the man pulling the strings from the absolute top.
The architect of it all.
Right. The speaker points directly to the president of the Moroccan Football Federation. In his passion, he refers to him as Phil and admits the president's full name briefly escapes him in the heat of the moment.
Which happens to the best of us when we're fired up.
Totally. But he insists that everyone in the country knows exactly who this guy is. He claims this administrator laid the fundamental groundwork 4 whole years before Morocco's historic, completely unprecedented semifinal run in the Qatar World Cup.
He doesn't just praise the administration, though. He elevates it above the talent. He claims this federation president is now more famous in Morocco than Ronaldo or Messi.
Wait, really? More famous than Messi?
That's what he says. Think about the mechanics of that for a second. In international football, success doesn't just spontaneously happen because a generation of kids happens to be good at kicking a ball.
Right, it's not magic.
No, it requires a massive logistical machine.
Wait, but doesn't it come down to talent eventually? I mean, you can have the best administration in the world, but if the players aren't there, you lose. I think most people watching the World Cup assume the winning teams just happen to have the most gifted athletes born in that particular decade.
I get that, but talent is distributed everywhere. The infrastructure to harvest that talent is not. Building an elite national team means establishing grassroots scouting networks that reach into rural areas.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, it means building state-of-the-art sports medicine facilities, managing complex international travel logistics, and, convincing dual national players raised in Europe to play for their parents' homeland.
Wow. That takes a CEO-level operational strategy.
Exactly. The Federation president has to negotiate television rights, secure funding, handle diplomatic relations. The fan recognizes that without that unseen, multi-year structural foundation, the raw talent on the pitch simply dissipates.
Which brings us to a rather controversial leap the speaker makes. He suggests this Football Federation president has been so exceptionally competent at running this complex machine that he could run the entire country better and with more ease than the current political leadership.
There's a bold statement.
It is. Now, as a quick caveat for you listening, we are entirely neutral here. We're just exploring this fan's highly personal viewpoint. We aren't taking any stance on Moroccan domestic leadership whatsoever.
Right. We're just neutrally sharing the speaker's perspective.
Exactly. But it is a fascinating window into how citizens view competence. He explicitly links football success to broader national development.
He is tapping into a very real geopolitical concept there, competence scales. When a country starts successfully hosting massive global events, building the stadiums, coordinating the security, managing the broadcast rights that requires a robust legal and economic framework.
Right, it's not just a game anymore.
No, it's an industry. The fan observes that sports are the most visible metric of a country on the rise. He argues that when an organization masters the immensely complex logistics of international sporting success, well, that same operational excellence is likely reflecting broader societal advancements.
Yeah, he actually says, and I quote, When things going well, it just keep going well in all kind of situations.
That's a great way to put it.
He views the football team's elite status as an undeniable symptom of larger systemic health. It's a sign that infrastructure, the economy, and even the general lifestyle of the people are elevating simultaneously.
But of course, even the greatest, most successful organizations have vulnerabilities.
Oh, absolutely. The speaker pivots from the Federation's high-level success to a major vulnerability that played out on the field. He points the finger directly at the previous coach, who he calls WAD, clearly talking about Walid Regragui.
This is where the narrative becomes a brilliant case study in leadership. Wide is the very coach who led the Moroccan team to that historic Qatar semifinal.
Right, the guy was a hero.
He turned those players into absolute legends to the fans. But according to our speaker, Wide developed a fatal leadership flaw following that success. He became a victim of his own loyalty.
Yeah, the speaker claims Wide was suffering from a stubborn dedication to what he harshly calls his broken men.
Broken man, that's a rough phrase.
It is. He's talking about injured or severely out-of-form players. He brings up guys like, well, the speech-to-text translated his words as Yusuf and Sarah, but he obviously means Yusuf and Nasiri.
Oh, right, translation course.
Yeah, and he mentions Sez, which is Ses, plus others like Ziyech and Amrabat. The coach was bringing them along simply because they were his loyal friends who brought him past glory.
The speaker is careful to acknowledge their legacy, though. He says no one will deny the work they did. But maintaining elite status requires a ruthlessness that Wade apparently lacked.
He couldn't let go.
Exactly. He couldn't let go of the emotional bond forged during their past victories.
Let me push back on that, though. Isn't loyalty exactly what builds team chemistry in the first place? I mean, when you are going into a high-pressure World Cup match, you want the guys who bled with you in the trenches.
Sure, you do.
You want the players who know your system and trust you implicitly. Why is that suddenly a trap?
Because the environment changes. The skills required to disrupt an industry, or in this case, shock the world by reaching a World Cup semifinal as an underdog, are often entirely different from the skills required to maintain dominance as a heavy favorite.
Ah, I see what you mean.
Think about a startup company. Have you ever seen a startup founder refuse to let go of their earliest employees, even when the company has entirely outgrown them?
Oh, all the time. The scrappy, chaotic energy needed to build a company in a garage is highly reliant on tight-knit loyalty. The founder hires their college roommate to be the chief financial officer.
Right. And that works when the company is making $100,000 a year.
But when that same company becomes a multinational corporation generating $100 million, that college roommate is suddenly completely out of their depth. The required skill set has evolved beyond their capabilities.
And the founder often refuses to fire them because of what they went through together in the garage. It creates a massive organizational bottleneck.
That perfectly mirrors the coach's refusal to evolve here.
It does. The coach's refusal to evolve the roster and integrate fresh, unburdened talent created the exact same bottleneck for the national team. The speaker takes a pragmatic, almost cold stance here.
What does he say?
He says that after the peak of the World Cup, the coach should have recognized his inability to rebuild. He should have stepped down with dignity instead of holding the team back with what the fan describes as his chaos.
Yeah, he says when you need to change, you have to change, and that's it. It's brutal, but in high-performance environments, it's true.
It really is.
So how does an organization actually break free from that kind of entrenched loyalty trap? I mean, the coach wasn't going to leave voluntarily.
No, he wasn't. It took a messy, chaotic failure at the Africa Cup against Senegal to force a massive necessary reset.
Most fans would view a high-profile loss to a rival like Senegal as a pure tragedy. But this fan views it as a strategic blessing in disguise.
Which is such a unique take.
Right. He realizes that if Morocco had somehow managed to win that Africa Cup while playing poorly, they would have been doomed.
They would have dragged Wide and his roster of broken men straight into the 2026 World Cup, and it would have been a disaster.
Exactly. It's a danger of a successful failure. Winning while doing the wrong things just reinforces bad habits. The loss was the necessary catalyst to break the emotional hold the coach had over the federation.
It forced the administration's hand. They had undeniable proof that the current strategy was no longer viable, which gave them the political cover to fire a coach who was otherwise considered a national hero.
The chaos of that Senegal game didn't just end a coaching era, though. If you're listening to this, you might roll your eyes at what comes next, assuming it's just a fan making excuses. But look closely at the psychology of what he says.
Oh, the conspiracy theory.
Yes. The speaker drops an incredibly wild conspiracy theory about a missed penalty by the player Brahim Diaz, who he refers to as Brian Diaz.
According to the source, the game was descending into chaos. The Senegalese players were acting messy on the pitch, using intimidation tactics, and the fan claims that it is obvious to anyone truly watching that Diaz intentionally missed his penalty kick as part of a secret, unspoken deal to calm the situation down.
He frames it as a sacrifice. He believes Diaz took the heavy burden, the responsibility to miss in order to de-escalate the street bullying happening during the match.
It's quite the narrative.
He says, there is obvious things that are not being said that being done. It's like a covert peace treaty negotiated in real time on a football pitch via a missed shot. He says Diaz basically communicated, if we want us to come back, just miss that penalty and then we carry on.
This raises an important question, though. Whether this conspiracy theory is objectively true or entirely fabricated in his mind almost doesn't matter.
Wait, really? Why doesn't it matter?
Because it reveals a fascinating mechanism of human psychology, specifically cognitive dissonance. We crave a logical reason for why things happen, especially when a highly skilled professional fails at a seemingly simple task.
Especially for this fan, right? I mean, he's a marathon runner. He intimately understands athletic discipline, muscle memory, and performing under pressure. He probably cannot compute how an elite player simply misses the net.
Exactly. The brain rejects the unforced error. We would much rather believe in a noble, complex, secret sacrifice than accept that an elite athlete simply choked under immense pressure.
Wow, that makes a lot of sense.
It gives agency back to the team. They didn't just fail. They chose to fail for a higher moral purpose. It is a defense mechanism to protect the fan's deep emotional investment in the competence of his team.
That messy game against Senegal had consequences far beyond wild fan theories, though. It directly triggered a massive geopolitical shift in African sports governance.
Right, the CACAF decision.
Yeah. Following the events surrounding that tournament, the Confederation of African Football, CAF, took the hosting rights for the next Africa Cup away from Senegal and awarded them to Morocco.
And the speaker's reaction to this geopolitical shift is where his analysis reaches a profound level of maturity. He explicitly states he's speaking not just from his perspective as Moroccan, but from his broader identity as an African.
That's a really important distinction.
It is. He supports the decision to move the tournament, but he frames it entirely around the concept of continental progress.
Here's where it gets really interesting. He argues that this action was a necessary step to stop the intimidation and street bullying that he claims has plagued African football.
He wants institutional accountability across the entire continent.
Right. He says if Morocco were organizing a tournament and acting messy, he would expect the exact same punishment. He says we're trying to level up our countries, but we're not going to do it in bullying.
He understands the concept of soft power. When a continent hosts tournaments that are free from corruption or intimidation tactics, it signals to the global community that the region is a reliable partner.
Oh, for sure.
It projects an image of stability, governance, and fairness.
Which leads to the most staggering line in the entire video. For a man who has passionately watched every single tournament from the same living room since 1986, he openly admits that at the end of the day, winning a cup doesn't bring food to the table.
Admitting that the sport itself doesn't feed people is a striking moment of self-awareness for a diehard fan.
It really is.
He is actively separating his nationalistic ego, the sheer desire to see his country win a trophy at any cost, from the goal of continental progress.
His true goal is higher education. He wants the leveling up of the entire African continent's global image. He sees the infrastructure, the fairness, and the clean organization of sports as stepping stones to real-world geopolitical respect and economic development.
Because projecting competence through sports attracts foreign investment, boosts tourism, and creates a narrative of modernization.
Exactly. He wants a rising tide that lifts all boats. He refuses to celebrate a hollow victory if the underlying systems remain broken.
This brings his entire philosophy full circle. It is why he values the operational genius of the Federation president over the raw talent of the players. The players win games, but the administration builds the rising tide.
So, with the old coach and his loyalty trap gone, the political drama settled, and this visionary Federation president still steering the ship, where does this lifelong fan stand heading into the 2026 World Cup?
He throws his absolute unconditional support behind the new coach, who he identifies as Mohammadi.
He praises Mohammedi's maturity, right?
Yes, and specifically highlights his immense experience playing against diverse global schools of football.
Yeah, the speaker notes the coaches face the Americans, Argentina, Brazil, Korea, France, Spain. He has seen how the rest of the world operates. Plus, Mohammedi already proved himself by bringing a World Cup victory to the youth squad.
That emphasis on the youth squad is critical to the fans' optimism. It signals a complete break from the broken men era.
Out with the old, in with the new.
Exactly. This new coach represents the future, a fresh methodology, and a willingness to utilize new, unburdened talent. The loyalty trap has been dismantled.
But the thing that shocked me the most was how incredibly zen the speaker becomes at the end. Like, he explicitly says that he will not be sad or angry even if the Moroccan team loses their first 3 matches in 2026.
Can you imagine a diehard fan saying they wouldn't care if they get swept in the group stage?
Never. It's wild.
It is the ultimate evolution of a fan. He says, whatever happening, we are supporting them, and we will be proud of them with any kind of results.
That's amazing.
He has moved entirely away from demanding immediate short-term gratification. Because he trusts the Federation president, and because he sees a healthy, forward-looking process in place with a new spirit and no internal chaos, he is immune to the panic of short-term failure.
So, as long as the foundation is strong, he's not going to panic if a window breaks on the house.
That's a great analogy.
He knows they are moving in the right direction without the baggage of the past. That is such a powerful place to be, not just in sports, but in life.
He recognizes that true organizational change takes time. If the systems are correct, the results will eventually follow. He has traded the volatile, emotional roller coaster of a typical sports fan for the calm, calculated patience of a long-term investor.
Let's briefly recap this journey. We started by looking at the hidden architect of a golden era, realizing that long-term structural planning by an administration outpaces immediate raw talent.
Right. And then we explored the deep dangers of the loyalty trap.
Yeah, how refusing to let go of past heroes can actually sabotage your future, just like a startup failing to outgrow its garage phase.
We unpacked the fascinating psychology of how fans construct narratives like the missed penalty to process defeat through cognitive dissonance. And we saw how the ethical governance of sports serves as a crucial metric for the economic and educational elevation of an entire continent.
So what does this all mean for you? Whether you care about football, marathon running, or sports at all, the dynamics we talked about today apply directly to our own lives.
They really do.
The struggle of knowing when to honor loyalty and when to force a clean, pragmatic break applies to our careers, our personal relationships, and our own personal growth. Sometimes, a messy failure is exactly the catalyst you need to avoid dragging a flawed strategy into your future.
So think about your own life, your own goals, or your own business. Are you currently holding on to any broken men?
Ooh, that's a tough question to ask yourself.
It is. Are there outdated habits, comfortable strategies, or deep loyalties that undeniably brought you success in the past, but are now secretly holding you back from your own 2026 World Cup moment?